I'm feeling pretty fed up by a lot of things right now, and I'm not really sure what to do about it. Good morning, today's Wednesday. Just a little update here of the latest. I am picking up at another steel mill in Portage, Indiana. It's weird picking up at these places. There's a lot of other trucks here, mostly Conestogas, and I definitely get a little bit of that weird imposter syndrome, like I'm still pretending that I'm supposed to be here, because it feels very, I don't know how to explain it, but this stuff is really serious to me. To pick up these types of loads, I don't even know what to say exactly, but I just want it to be seamless. Let me just put it that way. I want this pickup and delivery to be seamless. And this is one of the heaviest loads I will have driven. It's over 48,000 pounds, which means it's going to be a bitch to drive. It's going to Effingham, Illinois. I need to get better about looking at my routes and looking even at the paper atlas, which I really prefer. I don't feel like I'm super confident reading a map that's that detailed, because I've gotten so complacent or spoiled, or whatever you want to think of it as, with using GPS all the time. It's crazy to think about a lot of truckers, these older truckers who've been doing it for a long time, that never used GPS before. They got everywhere with maps, and we're so spoiled and lazy, like we just wait for the GPS to tell us where to go. I definitely do. I had this issue when I worked for the delivery service. Even though I really know my way around Chicago pretty well, because I've driven down there for a long time, both just in my car and as a commercial driver, downtown, suburbs, everything, I still compulsively look at GPS, even when I'm going home, somewhere that I know really well. And sometimes I'll have to like make myself turn off the GPS so that I stop looking at it, because it's like a compulsive thing. I see a truck in front of me is pulling into the bay door, which is great, because that probably means I don't have to back in there. I'm not trying to say that I want to avoid backing though, because honestly, the more I do it, the more I realize that like I like strategizing, and I don't want to not be practicing my skills. If I'm moving funny, it's because my neck is fucked, and I've been dealing with so much pain these last few days, and it's time for me to pull forward, so let me do that real quick. So I have these salon pause patches on my neck. I have 2 of them, which, to be honest with you, these things work very well until you start sweating, and then they start moving around. But if you're staying relatively still, or if you're sleeping, they really helped me sleep last night. I also took an extra magnesium, so I think that means I took 750 milligrams of magnesium. Shouldn't overdo any kind of electrolyte like that, because the electrolytes are in a particular balance in your body, and I probably should look that up before I just go and take an additional magnesium. But it's amazing for sleep, and it's supposed to be really good for muscles. I slept much better last night than I have recently. The night before was really hard. I was just up in so much pain, in a kind of pain I've never experienced with my neck before. All right, dude came over to direct me where to pull in, so I'll just make a quick little finish up what I was saying there. I need to figure out my situation with regard to like health insurance or whatever, so I can get my neck taken, get my neck taken out, get someone to take a look at my shit and help me figure out what's going on, because you can live with a certain amount of pain, and I have for 20 years, you know. I've talked about it in other videos, but I was a long time weightlifter, did some bodybuilding competitions. I used to go hard 6 days a week, 2+ hours a day, 3 hours a day. I also have something called hypermobility, which is when your connective tissues allow for way too much movement, and so your bones become out of alignment, and it results in chronic pain. It sucks. I usually manage it okay. I do a lot of yoga, I do breathing exercises, I try to monitor my posture as best I can, but it's not an easy thing to deal with. It just is what it is. So anyway, hopefully gonna get loaded relatively quickly here, secure this load, and GTFO and head down to Effingham, Illinois. Isn't that kind of a funny name? Effing him. I'm sorry, that's cheesy. Incoming. Good morning. Here's a pretty view behind me of some flowering trees. There's a nice sound of birds chirping. I'm in Missouri, trying not to be too twitchy because I'm in some neck pain per usual. And I'm having quite the morning because I just went to start my truck and it turns out my battery is dead. And part of the reason, I should have known this was actually really stupid on my part. I've been using a small power inverter to charge devices. It doesn't actually work that well. It takes forever to charge things because it's one of the cheap $40 ones that doesn't have that much voltage or whatever. I hear a truck. I wonder if that truck could jump me. I came here, I just checked in, and now my truck is sitting here and I can't move it until someone jumps me. This is what happens when you have a truck that you're afraid to run because of fumes. So I don't care. Like I asked my bosses to check it. I asked them for a CO2 detector. They didn't give me a CO2 detector. I don't trust running the truck without a CO2 detector after what's been going on so far. So I'm just, you know, got a pile of blankets in there so I can stay warm enough at night, which worked really well. It was actually a little too warm. And yeah, this is the kind of thing that's really frustrating, and I'm feeling pretty fed up by a lot of things right now, and I'm not really sure what to do about it. And I'm also just on another level of sad and anxious about leaving my apartment when I'm in the midst of this kind of transition where I'm going into a work situation that is not going well for me at all. And I'm very broke because something I haven't talked about because I haven't really wanted to, but the training pay was a significant pay cut from the money I was making bartending, which wasn't, you know, anything earth-shattering, but it was enough to pay my bills and tread water with my debt. And now I'm just broke. I'm broke. I have pain that I can't afford to mitigate. I am dealing with a janky-ass truck, and I am about to be out an apartment. So it's not a great time and I'm upset about it, but I'm trying really hard to just take it a day at a time because this too shall pass. It always does. Things are always fine in the end. I think, honestly, I think that if I wasn't in so much physical pain, everything would feel a lot different. This is a type of pain that's really tough because, you know, when I'm driving, I'm like having to be weird in the way that I move, and there's a certain hopelessness that you get about it because when you just can't afford to go to a doctor and get some kind of a real remedy, you're just like, okay, well, let me just take more Advil. Oh, America. That's about where I'm at today. It's a day, but it's going to be fine. It'll get better. I'll make this quick because my phone's about to die. I'm just still here doing a little bit of journaling, which always feels good, and I don't do it often enough. And a weird extension of my neck problem, this has been years now, I've been going through this, especially when I was doing the moving job, is I think I have something actually called thoracic outlet syndrome, which I won't bore you with the details of it, but one of the symptoms of that is that you get numbness in your hands, especially when I try to write, which drives me crazy because I like handwriting things. But usually about a page in, I'll start getting a lot of numbness depending on how much I've been using my upper body. And because I did things like secure a load of steel yesterday, I'm having a lot of numbness, and I get a lot of relief, a lot, from good chiropractic, massage therapy, and especially physical therapy. But those things are expensive. Anyway, sorry guys. I really hope that you don't get sick of hearing me talk about this stuff. There's a constant steady stream of me worrying about my pain in my head, and I don't want to sound like I'm being negative or whining or anything like that. But I just want to, like I always say, I want to keep it real and just share the reality of my experience. So Long story short, I'm going to try to keep it quick because my phone's going to die. Whenever the second mechanic gets here, I'm going to ask him to, if I can plug in my phone. Him or her. Wouldn't it be neat if it was a chick? That would be so cool. So one guy came, determined it wasn't the battery. There was all kinds of corroded shit. There was broken connection, like bad connections, bad wires, fucking electrical tape, you name it. Am I surprised? No, I'm driving a dinosaur. I'm not surprised at all. I'm a little annoyed, but I'm not surprised. This is the result of the choices I have made, and I accept responsibility for my choices. I'm interested to see what happens. I've been sitting on my ass for 5 hours. I'm not getting paid right now because the wheels aren't turning. So I hope I'm going to get paid today for this time that I'm sitting here, and I'm in Missouri, and I'm wondering, okay, how do I get to wherever I'm going next if this truck has to be sitting in a shop or something? So that's going to be interesting to find out. But all of these things are playing into my decision process for the things that are going to happen next. So, but you know what? I'm doing my best to make the most of it. I'm putting my foot up. There's a beautiful trio of flowering trees right here. I'm watching the red-winged blackbirds and the bees, the fat little fluffy bumblebees, and this wasp who keeps checking me out. I got stung by bees twice in a month last year, or I guess that was 2 years ago. I got stung in the eye last year. I have been an unlikely target because I always leave those guys alone, but I guess they like me. So I'm just sitting here like, please don't bother me. I'm just minding my own business. Anyway, that's my day in a nutshell. I'm keeping a smile on my face because you know what? The sun is shining. It's an absolutely beautiful day, and this is no big deal, right? Everything's gonna be fine. Good evening. I'm at a Petro. I was on my way from Missouri this morning to, or I am on my way from Missouri where I left this morning. Well, would have left this morning if not for the adventure I found myself on. Good morning, good morning. I stayed overnight at the Petro Travel Plaza in, I'm not sure exactly where I am at the moment. I'm kind of near Rockford, Illinois. I'm heading up to Madison to drop off this load that I picked up yesterday. Oh, I just had a little clip, which I think I'll include. I cut it off because I was walking through the parking lot at the truck stop late at night, so a lot of truckers are already in their bunks, you know, and they've got their privacy curtains up or whatever, but the ones that aren't are all, there's always somebody like looking. And being a woman walking through a lot is a weird feeling, being alone, because you know you stand out. And so I didn't want to also be filming myself because that felt weird. I had such a weird day yesterday. It got so screwed up. I got so few miles because the battery was dead. I thought it was my fault. It wasn't my fault at all. I left a small inverter plugged in overnight, and with trucks that shouldn't kill the batteries because there's multiple batteries and there's backups and whatever. I don't understand how those systems work. Suffice it to say, it wasn't my fault, you know. So it turned out to be a loose battery cable, but it took hours to discover that because the first tech that was sent out couldn't find what was wrong and was looking and looking, and friends, my friends, as he started taking things apart, it was like sort of the nail in the coffin, and a major reason why I need to make a change. This is a struggle for me. This is a pattern. I have a hard time changing things even when they are hurting me, and my neck is really messed up, and I have to make a change because unfortunately, as much as I really want to be doing flatbed, the securement actions required at this time are causing my neck to be really painful and inflamed in ways that it has never been before. I've had neck problems for about 20 years. I realize when I think back that I had neck issues as a child even. I wonder if anyone else has ever had this. You ever have a thing where you just go to turn your head and make a normal motion, but you feel like a sudden, very sharp, painful electrical charge feeling through your neck, which is a nerve, you know? I've had that since I was a kid, and it's usually occasional, and it started happening a little bit more recently, and when it happens, it like is startling because I'll be in the middle of talking. I remember it happening at work, and I just went to like do this. Like it could be that subtle of emotion. I felt it like from my eye down like to my shoulder or something. It's like a really intense feeling. It's like the intensity of an ice cream headache, but it hits you all at once. And it makes you stop what you're doing. It's that intense. So that was a little bit alarming, but then once I started doing this work, it's the specific, like I mentioned in another video, I think, it's the specific cranking of this heavy bar that I have to do to secure the loads that exacerbates the problem. I need to get it looked at, and this goes back to my compulsive exercise habits that I've struggled with since I was a kid, and other self-harm type of behaviors, and it's hard for me to understand, let alone explain, because it doesn't make sense. But I have a pattern of staying in situations or continuing activities that I know are physically harmful to me. And it's like I tell myself, oh, well, you're just being a wuss. You just need to power through it. You know, it's like these competing voices in my head that are equally powerful. One being, you are in so much pain, you have to stop. And then the other voice is like, ah, don't be a pussy. You know? So this is the kind of pain that's untenable. When it keeps you awake at night, when you're taking, you know, 8 Advil a day, which is terrible for your digestive system, you have to do something different. So I can't keep doing flatbed. I need to deal with my neck. But I'm really, really thankful to the voices of reason in my life. Like one of my buddies, my friend Dirk of Dirk Trucks. Check out his channel. He works for GP Transco. He's an absolute doll of a person. We are fast friends. He has been a person who has really given me some great insight. I'm trying really hard to talk sense into myself and to stop doing the compulsive things that I have tended to do. Like, I want to be a badass female flatbedder, you know? And I really, it's not just because I want to be cool. There's a little bit of that, I'll be honest. But I love it. I love doing hard shit. I love doing stuff that makes me sweaty and cranky and then I'm done and I'm like, I did that, you know? But if it's fucking your body up and you know that, like, I'm 43 years old. I'm almost 44. In July, I'll be 44. The older you get and the things that you see around you, the other people around you that are a little bit older than you, even like 20 years, because 20 years goes by in a blink, let's face it. You see that and you recognize that you have choices. And that's why in my videos I talk a little bit about things like nutrition. The small choices that we make now are what will determine our quality of life later. And I want to have a good quality of life for my whole life. I want to get up in the morning and do my friggin' breathing exercises and do yoga. I want to go in the water. I want to swim. I want to paddleboard. I want to be able to go hiking. I want to travel. I want to do all these things. And if my neck is so fucked up by the time I'm 60 that I can barely turn my head and I'm in chronic pain, what will have made that worth it? Nothing. Nothing. So I have to be smarter now than I have been. I'm hearing this echo of my 26, 27-year-old self, maybe around that age, 28, whenever I was doing marathon training and my body was screaming at me to stop and I would not listen. And now I have chronic problems as a direct result of that period of time, a few years of my life when I was doing bodybuilding and running, and then started just being like, I'm going to do distance running now out of nowhere. It was just pummeling my body. So I'm harping, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to I'm also trying to kill a little bit of time because I've got another 7 minutes. I did my pre-trip, but I started the clock after I did it, so now I gotta wait before I can drive. There are some other things that have been going on in the situation that I'm in. Yesterday, when this tech was taking things apart and I saw the corrosion and I saw like just the way things in this truck were held together, like it was a wake-up call. And I knew I was driving an old truck, but I also realized I was like, I know that there are different opportunities for me that might not look as great on paper initially, but which will set me up for a better future in this industry. I don't intend to stay in this industry for a long time, but I need a strong, solid foundation that includes the type of training that will ensure that I'm safe on the road. I was talking a little bit about this with my buddy yesterday about how I was when I was a personal trainer. One of the reasons I quit personal training was because I never felt satisfied with the level that I was at, and I didn't feel like I was in a place within myself to reach that where I wanted to be. I felt like unless I become a physical therapist, go back to school for like 8 more years, I'm never going to be able to feel like I'm good enough. If you ever go to the gym and you see a trainer training someone and they look like they're doing something whack, it's because they probably all fucking are. And I was never like that as a trainer. I was very precise. I was like, move your heel an inch this way. Like, I was very, very precise because Your body is very sensitive to the things that you condition it to, and if you repeatedly do something to it that is not for a specific purpose, you're not helping yourself and you might be hurting yourself. And so I take that mentality into trucking, into training. And I think earlier in my videos, I was like, oh, this is great, everything's great, because I didn't know what I didn't know, if that makes sense. Once I got out here on my own, I started to realize where I was lacking. And I started to say to myself, this is not cool. This is not gonna work. I need to start over again. I need to back up, back the truck up. Sorry, I had to. And I need to regroup, because I care a lot. And not everybody brings that mentality to trucking. And guess what? That's fine for them. It kind of sucks because they're driving 80,000-pound death machines down the road. But I fucking care a lot. And I want to make sure that I'm doing the best possible job, that I'm the safest possible driver. And I can't do that if I'm in a truck that I don't even feel secure about, because 100% of the time there is a check something or other light on the dash that just lives there. And when you ask, what's that for? Why is this on? The answer is unsatisfactory. So when there is actually a problem and you got a check engine light that should be on there, you won't ever know it. These are the kinds of things that are unacceptable that I have to move away from, because I care about safety. I got to figure a lot of things out, but you know what? I have a lot of support. I have a lot of people in my corner, and I just have to keep telling myself everything's going to be okay. The video yesterday where I was like crying, I'm like, man, I don't want all these videos like, oh, there she goes crying again. I just want you guys to see the reality of what I go through, what people go through. I'm a person who is comfortable being more vulnerable like that, because I think reality is what it is, you know? Some people might want to give you a more censored version of themselves, but you're gonna get the real me when you watch my shit, because that's just the way I roll. I've got another minute or so on my pre-trip before I can skedaddle, so I'm out of here. All right, I'm getting unloaded right now. That's my trailer right there. This load, it's raining cats and dogs, of course. And last week, by the way, I wish I had remembered to bring this amazing raincoat with me. Hold on, I'm holding my phone in a weird way. This North Face jacket that my beautiful, awesome sister-in-law gave me for Christmas, specifically for the purpose of trucking. Oh my gosh, is it a lifesaver? And I wish I had had it with me last week, because underneath this thing, I am nice and dry. It's perfect, I love it. This load, you can't really tell necessarily from this image, but I'll share a picture. This load was an absolute bitch to secure, because it's almost as wide as the trailer, and it's tall, it's like around my height. So I had to like Spider-Man around the edges of the trailer over a cement floor with my heels hanging off, because there was no room to actually stand on the edges of the trailer. And I'm like climbing along these boxes, putting the protectors up there. Discovered I probably used the wrong protectors because they were plastic and they got bent. I have metal protectors on me, but I didn't think I should use them because I'm putting them over cardboard. So I thought they would cut into the cardboard. It's a very weird load to secure. I had to climb on top of the load. I had to climb around the edges of it. It took me fucking forever. I had to use a ton of straps to secure it. It was just a giant pain in the ass. At least the weather was nice. I had my trailer inside the bay and my tractor outside, because after the fucking battery snafu, I had to leave the truck running, you know, for a while to make sure the battery's fully charged. What a fucking weird day that was. It just ate my day. All that bullshit ate through my day. But the load made it here. I'm staying dry. Thank you. You know who you are. I love you. And yeah, so I don't know what's next for my day, but I'm just happy to be dry. Holy crap. I got here at the right time, because now there's trucks showing up right and left waiting to get unloaded. So hopefully, I'm assuming I can pull forward out of here. I really fucking hope so. Just took a little shelter while they finish unloading me. Almost done. And I have to say, it is kind of cool being part of this segment of the supply chain, because especially living in Chicago, which has been undergoing a building or slash construction boom forever, really. It's neat to be part of moving the raw materials that go into building things, building homes and businesses, offices, buildings, whatever. It's kind of cool. It's almost time for me to close up the trailer and get out of here. They got 3 more pallets to unload, and I'm GTFO. Take me back to Chicago. Just a little summary video for the week. Put some makeup on, always feels good, and I'm not sure how often I will be able to do that going forward, as my living situation is about to be really precarious. Things are very uncertain and I'm really kind of scared. And I keep thinking about just, I'll get that song Freefallin in my head by Tom Petty because I'm free falling. That's how I feel right now. I had initially, as I talked about in earlier videos, which you may or may not have seen, I had initially planned on living in the truck full time. The purpose of me getting a CDL, getting into trucking, the broader purpose is to save money by living in the truck and spend all of that money on student loan debt and getting out of debt and credit card debt, but it's mostly student loans that have been kind of keeping me from moving forward in my life for a really long time. I had fully intended to do that, and then as you may have gathered from the rest of this video, there were a lot of things that were not really working for me in the current situation that I've been in with regards to neck pain, but also feeling uncomfortable in the equipment that I've been using and feeling the need to just make a change in my situation. I am going to be going to a different company. I left the company that I was going to work for. The thing that's really scary about that is I don't know where I'm going to live. I had really tried to make some overlap with my current apartment so that I would be living in the truck for like a month and still have a lease in my apartment so I could sort of adjust, but it didn't work out because of the timing of when my lease ended and my landlord wanting a full year commitment. I don't know where I'm going to live. This is the way life goes sometimes. You gamble on something and you think it's going to work out and you try to time it well, but maybe you don't time it as well as you could have, and then stuff falls through and you have to figure it out. So that's kind of where I'm at, and it is really a scary experience, and I have a week to find a place to live. And then I'm going to be going into training for another company. The training pay there is even lower than what I was making on the training pay where I've been. So I'm not sure how I'm going to make that work, but I'm just going to have to find a way. More debt basically is what it's going to amount to. I didn't really explain something, which is that I am going to be taking a position where I will be on for 5 days and off for 2. So living in the truck full time is not an option. I really don't like that. I would have preferred to be able to live in the truck full time. I'm going to be stepping away from flatbed, which is necessary for now, but the thing that I'm happy about is that there is an option for me to switch to flatbed really at any time. Based on what I know about the company that I'm going into, there will be pretty extensive training, and that's really a huge motive for me when it comes to anyone I work for. Is I want to be trained like a motherfucker. Like, I want to make sure that whatever I'm doing, I feel 100% secure in. I will have access to an occupational therapist at the job where I'm going to be. I will definitely be pulling that person aside and explaining my situation, that my goal ultimately is to work on flatbed. I have these physical issues that have been limitations, and how can you possibly help me get beyond that so I can work flatbed? Because the cool thing is that if I work flatbed for this company, I will, rather than working in only a few states in the Midwest, which is what I will be doing initially, I will be able to go all 48 states and stay away a lot longer, rather than having an apartment that I'm never at. I don't see the point in paying rent when you're literally never home. That's an option that I'm considering. It's good to have options, and I guess the upside, it's weird, like, you shouldn't go into trucking if you don't already know that there is so much risk of things not working out the way you hope that they will, because this industry is a very, very difficult industry, period. And I knew that going into it. So I don't mean to sound like shocked or anything. I'm not. It's not that I'm like, oh God, why didn't this work out? It's just like, fuck, the timing really sucks of the way things worked out, you know? The nice thing is that if this opportunity doesn't work out, there's a whole bunch of other ones, and you can get hired in the blink of an eye because everybody is so desperate for drivers. So they'll be lucky to have someone like me, because I really give a shit. And there's a lot of people out there who don't, unfortunately. So anyway. It's frustrating because there's a part of me that's like, I should have just continued bartending and treading water because at least I knew where I stood then, and maybe I would still have a place to live. But I'm trying not to be like, you know, pity party and down on things, because I know that the perception of things, you can sort of color it by the way that you choose to talk about it or think about it. It is really scary to not know where I'm going to live in a week, dude. It's really scary. And it's hard to have experienced a lot of instability throughout your life and to have felt like you had some stability and then to lose that. But I'm a really strong person. I'm a fucking really resilient person, and I know that I can make this work. And I know that there are people who support me, but I don't really want to lean on people. I really want to just figure it out for myself.
I can do it myself, asshole.
That's I think part of the conundrum I feel is like, I don't want to stay in someone else's house and be a burden. I also don't want to sign up for another lease that is going to make me more broke than I already am. I want to just figure it out, and I wish that things had worked out differently than they did, but unfortunately they just worked out the way that they worked out. So, you know, life is like that sometimes. It can be unpredictable and shitty, but I think I'm, you know, upset with myself for not having better judgment earlier on and for going with things that other people said that I kind of went along with instead of just being like trusting my gut or trusting other people who gave me advice that was counter to what I was going with. Man, I don't want this video to be all down. I'm sorry if it's like a downer. Things are gonna get better, you know, but it's gonna be a period of instability and uncertainty that I'm gonna just have to live through and work through, figure it out as I go along, and I always figure it out ultimately. So that's what I'm gonna do this time too. And I'm sorry for being emotional, but these things are emotional, so I shouldn't apologize because we all gotta like let ourselves feel our feelings. It's a hard thing to do when you're trying to be a tough ass bitch. I really appreciate your support because I know people are gonna be supportive who are watching this, and I'm really grateful for that. I don't really know what else to say. I just am grateful for the support. This too shall pass. This too shall pass. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.